did. I really enjoyed riding in a rough sea. Just watch. In fact, nowadays I like to watch it storm. I don't want to get hit by it, but I like to watch it storm. Maybe I'm nuts, you reckon?
You were born in Fernwood, Michigan.
Ferndale,
Michigan. And I guess you had your childhood there?
No, we didn't live there. I was, I think, 2 years old when we left.
Come here?
Come to Evansville, lived in Evansville for a small bit of time. Then we went to Uniontown, lived in Uniontown.
Okay.
And my mother and daddy was both from Uniontown. I went to school first and part of the second grade there, and then we moved to a place called Little Union on the other side of Morganfield.
Mm-hmm.
And we walked from there. It was 4 miles from there back to Morganfield. We walked from there back to Morganfield to finish out our school year.
Oh, wow.
Then we went to a little school union called a Little Union.
Yeah.
Then we moved in close to Morganfield, and we walked back to Little Union to complete that year.
You did a lot of walking. These are probably like, what, 2 or 3 room schools or something like that?
One room.
One room?
It had a big door that you could slide and make it 2 rooms, but it's just a big 1 room school, that's all it was.
Oh, wow.
All it was it had a little union, had a church there and a school and a blacksmith shop. That's all there was to it.
In that town, that was it. So what did you do as a kid though? Would you play, like, kick the can or what?
Oh, you know, where we live out in the country, it's all country there. We'd run all over them hills and hollers and got a little older. We hunted all the time and
just explored.
Just explored. There's a cave back there in the woods. We'd always go back and look at that. It wasn't very deep, but we'd go back and look into that. And I used to get in it when a squirrel hunted in the woods to get out the weather.
Oh, yeah. Good when you could put a few supplies in there.
Yeah, I always wish, you know, I've heard that places like that, Indians used them to get out of the weather and stayed in them. And a lot of times you could dig in the dirt and you'd find Indian artifacts in them, you know.
You find black spots on the wall or something like that?
No, it wasn't anything like that. All it was just open cave. Didn't have any kind of.
Okay.
But it's back in the woods and the hills where we hunted, and we lived about a couple of miles across the country from it.
It's a lot different today. It's fence free. You could just run free. Yeah. So that was, okay, so you went to there. Did you go to high school down in that area?
Went to high school at Morganville.
At Morganville. Mm-hmm. Okay. And did you do any sports or anything like that?
No, I joined the football team once, and of course I wasn't very big, but back then you didn't have to be big as a mountain like they are now. Yeah. And I probably made the team, but you're supposed to let them know if you wasn't going to be there for practice. So I let them know I wasn't going to be there for practice for some reason or other, and they took my uniform. And I said, if you want it, keep it, and then just go back.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was that. So you graduated?
No, I didn't. You know, I liked, didn't like over a month or two graduating, and there's 9 of us that didn't want to go in the Army. Oh. So we all went and joined the Navy. We was afraid we were going to get drafted in the Army, so we all just went and one time, everyone was passed, and we went to Owensboro to sign up, and went back home, and I don't know how long it was after that, a little while, and they sent us to Louisville to join up, because that's where they give us the physical and everything, and then they shipped us off to Great Lakes Naval Training Station.
So what made you decide to pick the Navy? I know you didn't want to go in the Army, but...
I guess because my older brother's in the Navy, I don't know. Other than that, I don't have it. You know, I always thought, well, in the Navy you'd have a bunk to sleep in and something to eat. Yeah. But sometimes you didn't have a bunk to sleep in. Yeah. It was down the bottom of the water.
Yeah. So you went to the Great Lakes for the training?
Went to Great Lakes and went to the basic training, then went to gunnery school. And then they sent a bunch of us to Treasure Island, San Francisco. I don't know if you know where Treasure Island is.
Yeah.
Between Oakland and San Francisco. Sent us there to gunnery school. Mm-hmm. It was advanced electronics and hydraulic school. And after we completed that, they sent us back across the country to Norfolk, Virginia, and that's where all the crew of the ship I was on was simple, and we stayed there till they got ready to put the ship in commission, so then we went to local navy yards, got on the ship. In the wintertime, cold place to be in Brooklyn, in the wintertime, was then.
So what was boot camp like? What did they march you around and
Get you up about
exercise?
5 o'clock in the morning, you had to go for a long run, then you went back to eat breakfast, and after that, whatever the training was you was going through there.
And your training was gunnery?
Well, not really, not when I first went in. See, everybody, they just, I don't know, really don't remember what all we did do, but everybody did about the same thing. Run and get your exercise, and we had, of course, every morning we had to fall out and take our run before breakfast, and then went back and do the day's duty, whatever it happened to be. I don't remember now what all we did do.
They probably had somewhere along the line, map reading or some book learning or something like that you had to do. So.
You know, I really don't remember. I got a good memory, it's just short.
Okay, that's enough about boot camp.
I know that we had to learn to swim, that everybody had to swim. We had to jump off a 30-foot platform into water and swim. So they had to be able to swim so far, because they wanted the Navy guys to swim, the ship sunk out one day. Taught you how to take your pants, tie knots in the legs, and throw them over your head, get air to hold you up in the water.
That worked?
Yeah, it worked. I'm glad I didn't have to do it.
30 feet, that's a long jump.
Pretty good jump. It's kind of scary.
No shoot.
Shoot. I used to swim all the time. I enjoyed swimming. Gosh, kids out there where we live, we swam in every creek and pond and lake there was around there swimming. It didn't matter whether it stagnated or what, we swam it anyway.
Okay, so you went on to Norfolk, and you got into, your ship was the Sumner. And it was the Sumner. It wasn't the Sumner class, it was the Sumner.
It was Sumner class. The Sumner, it was the first of the class, so they named it. Every ship after that was a Sumner class, it was made like it, every destroyer. So it was the first of the class.
And what was its duties? What was it built for? Is it just destroy the submarine destroyer or escort destroyer? Or?
Well, destroyers mainly patrol out in front of carriers and battle wagon cruisers for submarines or incoming planes or whatever happens to be there. We shoot an airplane 6 miles away. That I know that sounds like a long way, but there ain't too many trees out there getting in front of you.
That's true.
And when airplanes, as fast as they travel at 6 miles, it didn't take long to get to you.
Right.
So after the 5-inch guns opened up, 40 millimeters would open up, and then 20 millimeters. When the 20 millimeter guns opened up, you knew they were getting too close together to you. You didn't want them to open up too often.
So what was your station? Your own ship?
I was a part of a 5-inch gun crew.
5-inch gun crew?
It was actually my gun to maintain, keep it operating and everything. And then in battle, my battle station was in the gun mount. There was 11 of us, I think, inside that mount. And a 5-inch gun, now the destroyers before the one I was on had single barrel to a mount. We had twin guns to a mount. And each gun had an elevator that went down to what they call an upper handling room. That upper handling room was round and it was fastened to the gun, and when the gun rotates around, it went with it. And the guys inside this upper handling room, we had I guess it's called an oscillating elevator. When they put a shell in one side, if the one already hit it at the top was taken out, it'd go up. And just as soon as that was taken out, it'd swap like that. And that's the way the bullets went up. And the powder cases were about that long, and a bullet only weighed 52 pounds, I think, 5-inch bullet.
And that was an explosive warhead, wasn't it? An explosive head.
Well, the bullet itself had a fuse on it, and it come up as it came up this elevator. The elevator was set to fuse, and that was all done by the radar. At distance, they figured ship. We had a box inside the mount, about that big square, called an indicator receiver regulator. It had more dials on it you could put in this room. That's what regulated it. We could, when we was at general quarters, started their motors up to get that gun going. If we didn't match our error on this indicator receiver regulator with the radar, and the gun would just flop right around to it.
Wow.
You're supposed to get the gun around to it. The gun could be operated manually with wheels cranking it, or it could be operated with the motor if you lost connection with the radar.
Oh, okay.
But mainly we just line it up with the radar, and they control the moving barrels up and down, and both barrels run down at the same time. Now, battleship, they got 3 barrels, and they raise the barrel and shoot, and it goes back down, and the others to do whichever ones they're shooting.
Oh, okay.
They all shoot separate, rise and shoot separate. Ours going up and down at the same time.
Throwing a lot of that.
You had a...
That would be flak, wouldn't it? What they call flak?
When it exploded, it would be flak, yeah. So you had that fuse. They came up with shells sometime during the war that could be set off by a certain type of cloud. And they told us not to talk about it. When we went home on leave, got home, I saw a piece about it in the paper, you knew more about it than I did.
That's the truth.
Yeah, more about it. But anyway, they set them, like I say, that elevator company, it would set that fuse automatically, and then wherever far away they figured it.
And the radar figured the depth, the range, and just set the fuse.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how we ever hit anything. It seems to me like you take a ship out there, especially in a rough sea, it's a bobbing up and down this way, up and down, rocking back and forth this way.
Yeah.
The gun has a right-hand twist to the rifling in the barrel. You know it's rifling in the barrel. So the bullet would drift off to the right for that.
Oh, yeah.
Like I say, I don't know how we ever hit anything.
Yeah. Well, did you see something? What was on the gun? Were you what was your job on the gun itself? I mean, you didn't have to aim it because somebody else was aiming.
Well, I wouldn't say everybody, but most of us helped load it. We could load far about around every 5 seconds.
Oh.
And that's a whole lot of...
So you were throwing bullets into the gun, so that...
No, I wasn't one of the loaders, but I was taking care of part of the gun that kept it going.
Mm-hmm.
So the gun had a open breech, mm-hmm. And they had a ram. I operated the ram. Oh, it had a ram on the back of the breech, and they put the powder case in there, and it sat like that. And then they put the bullet in the head of it, mm-hmm. And it hit that ram, and it showed in the gun. Mm-hmm. If the firing key was closed, just as soon as it closed, it'd fire. Mm-hmm. But if it wasn't, then wait till it was closed. And most of the time, it was closed automatically by the control, like I say, controlled by the fire control. And but if something happened where we lost contact with them, we could fire it independently, mm-hmm. From the mount itself.
And use that crank thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And as long as the motors had big electric motors, and as long as they worked, it wasn't too hard to operate. Mm-hmm. Tonnage, the gun itself, whole gun, upper handle weighed 70 tons. Which is pretty. And just think what them 16-inch jobs weighed.
Yeah.
Because they were.
Yeah.
A 16-inch shell, I could stand up to 16-inch shell, and just exactly as tall as I am. I ain't very tall, but that's pretty good sized bullets. Yeah. We operate a lot of different ships, and I've read later on that we operated with the battleship my brother was on, and the carrier, after he got off the battleship, he got on a carrier, and we operated that. Of course, back then, I didn't even know.
You didn't even know he was there? Didn't
even know that their ship was there. But we did tie up, which I think was in Lady, not in Lady, but yeah, where were we? Weetah, I think is where we were, in Civic. And we tied up to the North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So I asked one of the guys if he knew my brother, and he said, yeah. He said, he's not on here anymore. Mm-hmm. So I thought he was still on there, but he said, no, he transferred off. So he said, come on over, I'll show you around. So I just stepped off.
Stepped over.
Yeah, of course, you know how officers were, some of them, anyway, some of them gung-ho, you know. One of them had seen me do that they'd call me abandoned ship.
Yeah.
Which really I was. If we'd had to pull out right quick, I'd have been on the battleship. It wouldn't have any way. But anyway, I would have walked around quite a while and went back on my ship and went on about it.
Did you ever actually see a plane get hit and destroyed from your gun?
Yeah.
So you hit a few. How many? Were you an ace?
No, all we did is load the gun. It was all fired on the back. As long as it operated. Well, when we got hit with a suicide plane, and it hit right behind our mount, and it knocked our gun out from working. But it wasn't long. You know, they have repair crews, and that's their job. If something happens, you know, they get rushed up there to try to repair it. So it wasn't long till they got the gun operating again, so we went back shooting. But they had to shore up under it because the deck was short so bad, right close to it. But when the gun fired, it settled down the deck. They had to carry what's called shoring on all those ships of wood, the short places like that.
So Kamikaze hit, I think, if I recall, you said about 10, 15 feet away from it?
Yeah, right behind our gun. See, I was on a fantail, they call it, back end of the ship. And it hit behind us, but it was towards the bow of the ship. But it came in from the forward. I could hear the guy on Mount 1 up there saying, there's one coming in dead ahead. I knew who it was, so I knew his voice. And it was, I guess it was headed for the bridge when they turned. And you know, they have, they call it yard arms, where they run flags and things up, so they got a little ropes come in under that. And one of the wings hit the after smokestack. And it went right into the torpedo controls, knocked that over the side, and two guys in that killed them. Blew up right there behind the gun mount and killed that. You know, I don't remember now whether it was 13 or 16 men in the repair crew back there. Some of them have a mark on them. Percussion kills guys, you can't tell he's hurt, but he's dead. And we went right back shooting one just a little while. We was back far again.
You were pretty lucky then. Was that at Ormoc Bay?
No, that was in Legalian Gulf.
Oh.
Yeah, after we got out, we didn't get it. Well, we got a bomb hit going into Ormoc Bay, and knocked a bunch of holes in the side of the ship. But wasn't any of them below the water line, so as long as that hole was down below the water, which is not, sometimes it's pretty often, you know. You ever ride ship?
Yeah, I rode on the LST.
Well, of course,
on the river.
you know, that's a rough ride, this darn thing. That's just like a tub. They got, you know, these big cruise ships, things like that. They've got fins to keep them from rolling so bad.
Yeah.
But that thing, of course, it didn't have. I had a buddy on one that went to Japan, and he was in the occupation troop. And he went to Japan on one that carried along at 9 knots. That's about 10 miles an hour. Yeah. I tell you, it's at times on that story, I didn't know how it'd come back up sometime. It would roll over, you know, and you think, hey, it ain't gonna come back up. And here it come back up, and it'd go the other way. Sometimes you'd see water down here, when it rolled back there, ain't nothing but water down there. And the whole bow go completely underwater.
Wow. And
come out of water, come out of the water, it'd go wham, and it'd settle down and hit another wave, and I'd come again.
Lordy.
I slept right in the bow. That's the roughest place on the ship to be. In the bow.
How did you get a bunk in the bow?
I don't know. The 6 gunners mates slept in the bow. They had 6 bunks in there. We had a practice firing machine in there for practice firing 5-inch guns, you know. A lot of times we just get on to the hell of it, just have fun. Yeah. The chief, they had a living quarters right above us, and they'd risk haste. We did that thing, it'd make a lot of noise. It's just like loading the gun. Of course, I said didn't fire nothing, but we'd get food with it. But you know, on
so was some other places where you saw actions other than Ormoc Bay?
Oh yeah, we went to where we saw, I guess the first act was Lady Gulf. That's where they first went back in the Philippines. And they had already had the troops landed there, but there's still a lot of suicide planes coming. We was under constant gunfire, suicide plane fire there for quite a while. In fact, when we went on that raid to Ormoc Bay, that suicide planes business just started. And it's a wonder they hadn't sunk us there with suicide planes, but they was just trying to bomb us and shoot us. We broke them with habit, so I think we knocked a lot of them down.
Yeah.
But, you know, the ship out in the sea, it never still.
Just keeps going here.
Well, I know we tied up somewhere once. I don't remember where it was. It might have been, can't think of the name of the place now. Anyway, it had ground and the oil had 10-foot swells. The water looked like it was rolling just like that.
Yeah.
And the ship, if we was turned this way, it wouldn't have been too bad. But we was this way, the swells, the ship just sits there.
So it's hitting you broadside.
But I think we sat there for 8 or 9 days, and then it's all. You go to mess hall and get your tray to eat stuff, boy, you couldn't keep anything on.
I think I had a question about that.
It always seemed like after, when we went into port somewhere, if we took on some new men, we had the greasiest food you could think of when we went out. Of course, your stomach wasn't too used to the sea. Here's a state I know one of the guys tell me one day, said, he's sitting there at the table picking to eating. He looked around and said, looks like all new guys. And he said, they all look kind of thick. And he said, boy, I'm going to get all the meat I want. And he picked up that greasy pork chop and went, everyone got around.
Ran to the rail.
Made them all sick. But you know, we had escape hatch in that mess hall. And that area in the compartment below, but it also was a place for the guys down there. If was anybody there to get out if the ship got hit or something. And people wasn't watching what they were doing. They won't fall right in that thing.
Oh.
A lot of guys just stepped right in, tray and all up there. It's terrible.
It hurt.
It did hurt.
Yeah.
I never just fall in it, but some of them did.
I was going to ask you about if you had a bunk or if you had a hammock.
No, on all the later model ships all had bunks.
Had bunks.
Now we went out earlier in the training. We went out on an old battleship, a whole bunch of us. And the crew of the battleship, they all had bunks. But all of us guys that come on there for training, we had sleeping hammocks.
Hammocks. Well, yeah, I think a hammock would be better because it would.
Oh, you know, guys fell out of them hammocks. You hear them hitting the deck all night long.
Oh, is that right?
I never fell out of one. In fact, we picked up a bunch of CBs. I don't have any idea where it was at the time. We picked them up and took them somewhere else. So we just had enough bunks for the crew.
Yeah.
So we'd be good to the CBs, so we let them have our bunks, and we slept in hammocks.
Yeah.
Heck, I enjoyed it,
Yeah.
because I stayed right in that bows, this rubber place on a ship.
Yeah.
That old hammock just sway.
Yeah, you was just sitting still, the ship was going around you.
I almost always around sometimes.
Ask about Ormoc Bay.
Well, the intelligence, they got word that the Japanese were trying to supply their troops through Ormoc Bay. So Ormoc Bay was on the other side of Manila, the same island. So they helped feeding their troops through there. So they got word that this one convoy was going in and didn't have any protection much. And what they were doing is running these convoys in there, then the ships they had with it to protect them and send them back to escort another bunch in. But when they got word that this bunch was going in there, so they sent us in there to sink them. And the word they had was that there was one destroyer, escort, which is smaller than a destroyer. That's about all protection they had, besides maybe some planes and armed merchant ships. Well, they sent us in there 3 destroyers. Well, when we got in there, they didn't have any protection. They had 6 destroyers, R3.
Oh, Lord.
They had armed merchant ships. They had PT boats. They had submarines. They had aircraft and shore installations. And we was a target for everything, every gun in there they had.
Yeah.
Of course, every gun in there was a target for us too. So we went in there with guns ablaze, and it was just, they said that they thought we made so many course changes because going in there dodging zip, that one reason they didn't hit us anymore than they did. The bomb hit, we got on the way in, plus strafing was all the damage we got, but now this Cooper, they got hit with a torpedo, blew it right half in two, it's sunk right now. Almost everybody on it went down with it, huge part. And the mole, it had some men killed, but it didn't get hit by a big gun or a torpedo or anything.
What's the crew? How many get crew on a ship like that? How many, when that ship was lost, how many guys lost their lives?
Oh, there's close to 300 of them. There was 200 and some. Most officers and men went down with it. It didn't have a chance to get off of it. They blew it right half in two, and they didn't even have a chance. And water there was about 200 some feet deep when it went down. So they didn't have a chance. Some of them, so as they say, some of them got picked up by flying airplanes, seaplanes. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them got to shore and I guess made their way to American lines. I don't know how they knew where to go, but we didn't have to do any of that. We just kept far in the shooting. And we blew one destroyer, Japanese destroyer, clear out of the water. It cut when we was fixing to leave and he headed our way. We blew him out of the water.
With the guns or the torpedo?
No, with our. We didn't fire torpedoes. I still to this day they said that we had 10 torpedoes. We had a rack of torpedoes back towards the back of the ship and then one about midships. We didn't fire a torpedo. They said they was afraid we'd hit our own ships. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Because everybody was going every which way. They were ducking and dodging.
Yeah, but it looked like when we was coming around, we'd run back and forth up and down our shooting at everything. Some they got a launch something.
Could launch a spread.
Yeah, looked like they could have, but they didn't fire one of them. Yeah.
So this you didn't get hit by a kamikaze there or anything, just that one bomb.
We got that on the way in, yeah. But then we was under constant attack by airplanes and by those ships that was there, shooting at us full blast. Of course, we were shooting at them full blast too. And when they gave us orders to leave, we was almost completely out of ammunition and getting low on fuel, so we had to get out of there. So we went flank speed all the way back to the rest of the fleet with a pedal to the metal.
Pedal to the metal.
We would run. That destroyer was 369 feet long. That's that's long as a football field.
Yeah.
And had a displacement of 2,200 tons. So it wasn't a small ship. It was a pretty good sized ship.
That was a good sized destroyer.
So they claimed that when they told us to get out of there and we headed out full tilt, we run faster than they originally thought the ship would run. Of course, we was low on ammunition, low on fuel. We didn't have much weight,
Yeah.
And the other ship that's still up thought we was trying to run off and leave them, but I don't know why we was faster than the same kind of ship as ours, but I don't know why they couldn't keep up. But anyway, we slowed down.
Waited for them a little bit.
Waited for them to catch up with us.
So how many knots would a destroyer do?
They figured about 36, I think so. It's about 40 miles an hour. That's what you do.
They crank along pretty good.
40 miles an hour, and that's not now on land. Cars up, but out there, that big ship.
Yeah.
It takes a while to stop one of them things.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, they could reverse the propellers, and you know what they could do. We had two big propellers, called them screws, that's what they call them. But you could reverse one and run the other forward, and the ship could really whirl around there.
Spin around real tight turns. Yeah, I didn't know you had twin screws on it.
Yeah. The screws on the battleship, at least the one in the Missouri. Have you ever been seen Missouri?
No.
It was not the Missouri, but the North Carolina. It wasn't quite as big as the Missouri. But there's a sign on there that says their screw weighs more than Columbus's whole ship.
Yeah, probably does. Yeah, makes sense, doesn't it?
When it size push that battleship.
Yeah.
Well, no battleship. He's a hunk of steel. I don't know how they float.
Yeah.
I don't even know how airplanes fly, much less
Yeah.
ship floats.
Yeah.
But
So after Ormoc Bay, did you have any other? Then you went to Lady. You went to the Philippines, didn't you? After that, and that's when you got the Kamikaze.
no, not Luzon told you.
Luzon.
Lingayen Gulf. Saying we went to Lady when we first got to the Philippines. Then we went on a little invasion run with. They went back in. I always can't remember what it's Mindanao and Mindoro Island. And we escorted the invasion crew there. And we was under suicide attack all the time we was there. But we never got hit. And MacArthur, so I always heard, was on one of the ships and it got hit by a suicide plane. He got off and got on him another ship.
Yeah.
I don't blame him. I got
Well, yeah. Well, that's what he gets for picking them big ships. He thinks they're safe. They're big targets.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I may have told you this, but in the Gay Gulf, there was a Japanese twin-engine bomber came in, and the 3 Hellcats, Navy Hellcats, our Navy, chasing it. So 2 of them left, and 1 stayed with him. But I don't know whether that one knocked the bomber, Japanese bomber down or not, but he went in the water. When he hit the water, he ricocheted and went right into the side of an Australian cruiser. Knocked a hell of a hole in the side of the cruiser.
Wow.
And that was 3 times I saw that cruiser get hit that morning.
Wow.
And that's where we got the one that hit us. And we picked the pilot up that was chasing this thing. He went in the water. Somebody shot him down. I think some American planes shot him down. But they had what they called IFF, was identification friend or foe. And they're supposed to give that coming in so we'd know that it's friendly planes. You know. Can't take a chance, man. One plane killed a bunch of people.
Oh, yeah.
So, of course, I guess they didn't have time, but 2 of the planes left, and this one guy, I guess he's going to get him a Japanese bomber, so he stayed with it.
Stayed with him.
And then...
Got shot down by friendly fire, probably.
And we picked him up, but we didn't knock him down. But we picked him up, and most of those pilots carried a .38 pistol on a shoulder holster. And I remember somebody said, he said, they sunk my carrier, and they shot my plane down, and somebody has stolen my pistol.
You didn't get that, did you?
No.
You just wish you had.
Well, you know, a buddy of mine on a ship, when we stood, gunner's mates just stood guard on the ship, you know, when he was in port somewhere.
Yeah.
They give you 45, you gunner's mate and officer, officer of the day is there. And he got accused of stealing that 45. I never did know he did not. He didn't ever tell me not to ask him, but they had those, I don't know, you ever seen a 45 Colt?
Yeah,
9/11.
1911.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, because I think I told you, we stand there, we'd be in port in the middle of the night and nothing going on. I used to take that thing all apart and put it all back together.
Oh.
They wouldn't like that too much.
No, but you got good practice with breakdown and clean.
Yeah. Wouldn't shoot too good to put it all apart too. But it was very easy to break down.
So you were in San Francisco for a while. I noticed that. I got a picture of you.
At Golden Gate Park.
Yeah, Golden Gate Park. I just went right off to Golden Gate Park, and there it is. I zoomed in on Google, and there's that right where you were standing with those guys. So you have a leave there in
Well, yeah, we spent a little time there in ship did, and we went to. They sent us someplace. The gunner, I don't remember what the name. I don't even had the name of the place. Where we went for gunner classes.
Oh, is that maybe that Treasure Island thing you were talking about?
No, Treasure Island was a training place. It was all training. Yeah, Treasure Island was really built for San Francisco World's Fair.
Oh.
See, that island is Goat Island, and Treasure Island is a man-made island attached to it.
Oh, okay.
They had buildings on there as big as half of Henderson.
Wow.
Whole building, just everything in them, you know. But you know, I enjoyed being on the ship.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I didn't like being shot at, but I enjoyed it when it was rough. I may have told you that too. In a rough sea, I'd get up close to the bridge on a 40mm tug and just ride and watch the whole ship. Yeah, the whole front end go underwater, you know, it's come completely out and water go in every direction.
You never got seasick?
Oh, I did. The first one on there, I got sicker than a dog.
Yeah.
In fact, I stayed in my gun mount 2 or 3 days and never even got out of it. I was, shoot, you couldn't eat nothing, boy.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like that guy said he was standing there at the side of the ship and somebody come up and said, is some officer come up? And he said, if I eat him, he come up. Everything else come up.
So you just like to ride along there.
Yeah, I'd say I did. I really enjoyed riding in a rough sea. Just watch. In fact, nowadays I like to watch a storm. I don't want to before I get hit. But I like to watch the storm. Maybe I'm nuts, you reckon?
No, I like storms. Looks like we're getting ready to have one. I like the storms.
Yeah, I like to watch the storm. And you know, I don't think a lot of people realize it, that they say anytime you can hear thunder, get under cover, because it's lightning and can strike you anytime.
Mm-hmm.
They claim that a lot of people on the beaches get killed by lightning because the sun shining bright and everything and starts thundering and lightning hits them. But you didn't see it lighted out at sea much.
You didn't? Wow.
And you know,
You think those ships would be regular lightning rod? You think they'd come right in?
yeah, we could be sitting here and it'd be ships out, or not necessarily ships. You could see thunderstorms going on there where it might be just sunshine bright where you're at.
Right.
Or it might be thunder and lightning pouring down rain where you're at and every place else sunshine. You see so far in every direction, you know, we could see 9 miles from the deck of the ship. You know, that battle on Ormoc Bay, that was the worst one I was ever in.
Yeah.
And I can't remember being scared a second.
Yeah.
We didn't have time. We used to be,
Is he shooting, loading?
after we got out of that, the knees kind of knocked together a little bit after we got out of it. But during the battle, and I don't know, I guess the other guys the same way, because we were so busy shooting and taking care of the ship, you know, getting everything.
Well, you know that the best defense is to keep shooting.
Well, we was pouring it out, and I tell you, we poured a lot of shells out. We run up, I think about run out of shells, regular shells, and they had star shells, and you know, they have shells you can shoot and they explode in the air. And,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and see, and we carried, we had 3 different magazines, of course, for 3 different guns, and we had a lot of ammunition.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing about that was anytime we went into port, we had to unload every damn bit of that.
Oh, did you?
And then when we went out, we had to go out there to the ammunition ship and load it all back up again.
Oh. That's, I guess, for the
Safety case,
safety
yeah.
for the port. You know, they probably learned that from that one, there was one thing where they had a shipload of ammo or dynamite or something that went up in a port
In Texas.
in Texas.
Yeah.
And
Killed a bunch of guys.
killed a whole bunch of people, and that's probably where they learned it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll just take care of that right now.
Yeah, you know, sometimes, you know, in port, we'd be tied up with 2 or 3 or 4 ships all together, all sitting side by side.
Yeah.
One of them blew up, it'd probably blow all the rest of
Take
them
them
up.
all,
So
yeah.
they didn't want to. And, you know, when we was worried there wasn't any fighting going on, we always had movies. And you could see 3 or 4 movies at a time, you know, they'd show them out on the deck. But now, we was off of Luzon there if we went in there, and of course we was still under suicide attack, but at night it kind of calmed down. We was having a movie on the ship one time. General alarm went off.
Oh,
And everybody thought it was in the movie for a minute or 2.
what was the movie, that old John Wayne Navy thing?
No, it was about Wake Island.
Oh, what? Oh, okay.
I remember, and my gun station was clear to the other end of the ship. I had before I got back to my gun, they was over shooting over us.
Oh.
Suicide planes come in and trying to sink us.
So you had one of the big helmets?
Everybody wore a helmet.
Yeah.
The helmet, I had to wear earphones all the time, so my helmet was bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And to accommodate those earphones, it was about that big. And that gun barrel, all the time, when that gun go off, it'd blow in the helmet clear off my head.
Oh,
It felt like it tearing your face off, your skin off your head sometimes.
oh,
And those guns have a lot of percussion.
yeah.
I've said before, you could shoot that gun right through this building, not hit nothing, and the percussion from it would blow everything in there out.
Yeah.
It'd just take everything with it.
So you shot some stuff down. Were your best friends? You had some best friends. Were they all come out of it okay? Did you?
Yeah, I had one good buddy, his name was Sharp. He was on a 20mm gun, and it was behind my 5-inch gun.
Mm-hmm.
And the percussion from that suicide bomber,
Mm-hmm.
his arms, his hands, he didn't think they were going to be able to use. They swelled up gasoline, that thing. And I cut his pants on one side. It had a blister. I bet you that big around with it. Gasoline, you know, went through this pants and burned him. But it didn't kill him. He lived. He got. In fact, his hands got all right. I didn't think he ever going to be able to use his hands again. He was more high. He and I was good buddies, and he was a torpedoman, but that was where he worked on torpedoes. But during battle, he was on a 20-millimeter gun, and he was right on the very fan to evacuate the ship.
Looks like he didn't get knocked off.
Well, they're strapped in that gun. The gun strap goes around,
Oh,
you know.
yeah, okay.
But yeah, they put out a lot of shells, them 20-millimeters and 40s.
Yeah. 40s are, yeah, they shoot out a bunch of stuff too, and they're hand loaded too, or they were.
Yeah, you see them on that LSC, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did they have any 20? Remember they had 20s on? I've been on that thing twice.
Yeah, they got 20s. They got there's a 20 on the bow at the entrance going down, and there's there's 2 20s on the stern.
I've got a picture. The lady that I go with in Henderson, and her brother and I went on there, and we were sitting down and had somebody talk. Might have been you, I don't know. Just having a talk, and we were sitting there, and they took a picture.
Huh?
Of course, it didn't take just us. They got a whole bunch of people, but we was in the picture.
Yeah.
And I got it at home somewhere. Evansville, I think somebody, Evansville took it. I don't know. Might have been Henderson. I don't remember now. Who did take a picture of it?
Gotcha, huh?
Yeah, there's three of us. We said, of course, got us and a lot of other people too. Actually, I've been on her twice. We went over the first time, and it was in July. It was that lame hot.
Oh,
We was fixing to leave. They wasn't letting anybody on.
Yeah.
I don't know what was the holdup. And then finally, we just fixing to leave, and they said just letting them on, so we stayed and got on it. And then my buddy that I hunted and fished with for 50 years, he died last year. He rode one to Japan as an occupation.
Yeah.
And he said when he got over there to Japan, he went in some of the mountains. Snow, he said, was, must have been 20 or 30 feet tall. It had a path right through the middle of it on each side.
Wow.
So he'd like been there when it melted to see where it all went. we got into Tokyo Bay when the war was over.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they lined us up. I may have told you that story.
No.
A lot of destroyers in the route that the planes were flying, taking crews in there in case someone went in the water. We'd be there to, if there's anybody alive, to pick them up, you know. So we just got in our line and we just went round and round all the time. There's a dead whale out there. We passed that thing, I don't know, much 40 times, and every time got downwind from it. Of course, it stunk like hell, but you got the other way, you didn't smell it. But anyway, we went after that, it was over, we went into Tokyo Bay, and I had liberty to go ashore, but the ship didn't come by that was supposed to pick us up, and I didn't care about going ashore anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of the night, the general alarm went off on the ship, and I said, oh hell, here we are, and here comes them damn Japs again.
Mm-hmm.
So I jumped up, and like I said, I stepped right in the bow. I jumped up and grabbed my pants, started putting them on, they said, stand by for collision in the bow. So I come out of the bow.
Oh, yeah.
Went right straight by a ladder there. A typhoon come up.
Oh.
And we was tied up to another destroyer, and they had just had one anchor down. We didn't have any anchors down. Because we cut loose from them. It blowed us across that bay just like we were sailing. It took 30 minutes to get up steam where it could hold the ship.
Oh, yeah.
So it really blew us across that bay. We banged into that ship's motor whaleboat, mashed it, and I don't know what else we hit. We never heard us hit it, but it just blew us across the bay. What was that? I was reading something last night about one of the two of the crew on one of those suicide submarines.
Mm-hmm.
And this one boy said he didn't want to be in service anyway. So he was scared to death. The other guy on this suicide submarine, there's two of them on it. So the other guy, he was gung-ho, he wanted to be a hero. He said, I don't want to be a hero, I want to get off this thing and go home. But he got off of it some way or another, I don't know how, but they found it, divers found it.
Oh, okay, off of Pearl Harbor?
Mm-hmm. Entered Pearl Harbor.
Oh, yeah, I think I read something about that, they found it.
What did I read that in? I read something last night.
And the guy got out, that's how...
Yeah, the guy that was scared to death, he got off of it.
They probably opened the hatch and swam out.
Yeah. Well, 90 feet, it was 90 feet deep where they was under.
Yeah.
And he was able to get out of there.
Yeah. All right, now you got out. When you got out of service, you came back to Henderson, or where did you?
Not to Henderson, to
Morganville, and
Yeah.
you got a job at...
Well, I went to work. I worked for my uncle before I went in, while I was waiting to go, you asked, we'd all signed up and I worked for him, and then while I was waiting to find something to work, we had what they call a 52-20 club. They give us $20 a week for 52 weeks. We're supposed to live on that. Of course, back then it was pretty good pay, but and then I didn't know the rural electric was even such a thing as a rural electric, but a friend of mine told me about it, so went to work for REA.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you ever remember where Cooper's Appliances was on First Street. You remember that?
No, I've only been here for 6 or 7 years.
Well, that's where the office was originally. Then there used to be a building called Farm Bureau Building right at the corner of First and Main. Big brick building. And we was on the 3rd floor on that. And then they built that office at South Y. We didn't have any vehicles much to ride in doing work. And some of us, like in the wintertime, we rode on the back of a truck in the wintertime.
Oh,
when we got out there, we were ready to go to work.
Yeah.
And you know, I never even, every pole, like 90% of the people now, poles a telephone pole.
Yeah.
And same way with me, and I never even heard of a pair of hooks or climbing belts. So we was working down there out of Geneva, building land, and the fellow that was construction superintendent come down. He had no Army Jeep. He came down there to see how I was doing, and I was up in the tree trimming limbs out of the right of way to run the line. And I rode back down with him. He didn't know it was me. He just knew it was somebody in the tree. And he said, "That guy's in that tree. He'd make a lineman."
Yeah.
So in just a few days, John Harden, I don't guess you ever heard John Harden, he was a manager. And he was about my size, and he was tall, but he wasn't big around me. And he had a telephone company somewhere up in Hardin, Kentucky, I think. But anyway, he had a set of tools, and they gave me his set of tools and said, "Get up the pole." And I didn't know anything about climbing the pole, but I was climbing. So
That's when you put your hooks in.
Put the hooks on, and put the belt on, up the pole went.
Monkey.
And that's something else. I enjoy climbing. I enjoy being a lineman. I like to, of course, take a guy like him. He makes a lineman now. He can reach everything on the pole. And a guy like him and me working on a pole together work good because his feet's not in my way and I'm not in his way. See? But of course now they got the bucket trucks and the ladder trucks and everything. I told them guys one day, I said, "I climb more poles in a week than you guys climb in a year."
Yeah.
We climbed every day and all day long sometimes. That's the only way I had to get up and then climb them. But I didn't mind climbing. I like climbing. I like the line work. I'd have to turn around backwards on the pole sometimes to reach the stuff I was trying to do. But
Well, that's where you had your belt.
yeah,
Kind of hang from your belt.
had to build. You know, if you ever watch a show where they got linemen in it, and you see them with the belt on, you know where they know that most of them in movies, they got their belt way up above their waist. Linemen don't wear his belt up there, he wears it down on his hips.
Down on his butt.
Yeah, down below your pants belt,
Yeah.
usually.
So you retired from that. You worked there all.
We're 40 years. Yeah, we're 40 years.
So you want to tell us how you got your flash burn?
Well, you know.
You don't have to if you don't.
I don't mind it, but that's something else. You see, what happened, we had worked all night in a storm. And pretty hard work all night long, you know, in the storm. So the next morning I got up after daylight. I was back into town. I wanted to run from where I'd been to where I was going. So I stopped and eat breakfast and went on out on the job. And I had two guys with me. One couldn't climb. He was just, they call him grunt, people that helped you. He was grunting, and I had another fellow that they hadn't worked very long for REA, but he was a good lineman. So he went with me that morning. We went out of Marion about 10 miles to a place where there was a line going this way and a tap going off of it. And there was a cutout there. A cutout's like a switch, you know, kills the line. Fuse blows, kills the line. So the fuse blows in the cutout, and this boy climbed the pole. And I remember telling him that he was putting the barrel in the cutout upside down. And I got a call on the radio. That's the last thing I remember. I don't remember going to that other place, don't remember climbing the pole, don't remember nothing. Next thing I knew, I woke up in the hospital.
Still alive.
Oh, yeah. Lucky to be alive. 7,200 volts on top of my head. Killed Oh, I had a hole about that big in my skull where it just killed all the skull altogether. Clear down to the dura. The dura is the skin over your brain. And then they took a patch off of my leg and put over that hole. And I went that way for quite a while. And then they cut my scalp loose. My scalp here really come off the back of my head. They cut all that loose except for a little spot there and left the vein to feed the blood to it so it would stay, in good health, I guess you'd call it. And then I went back and they turned from back there up here on top of my head. And then they took a piece off my other leg and put it back here. And this skin there come back of my left leg. This piece under there come off my right leg. Then I went that way for I don't know how long. Then I went back and they was debating on whether to graft my arm on my stomach. Skin on his stomach's pretty thick. So they was debating whether to do that or not. And then they decided that they was going to put a steel plate. So they decided they took out one of my ribs and put it under that flap up there, over that hole in my head.
Wow.
So
you can walk around on your head and tickle your ribs and.
I used to my grandkids that way. I said, when I scratched my head, it tickled me. He'd come up behind me and rub my head.
So when did you get married? Did you get married while you were in the service or after the service?
No, I got married right after. See, I worked in Henderson all the time until they just had one lineman at Marion and didn't have any office down. Well, they had an office just to pay bills. And this guy got killed in a truck wreck. So they asked me to go down to Marion, and I said, I don't want to go down to Marion. I didn't know nothing about Marion. I didn't want to go down there. He said, well, go down there until we find temporary, till we find somebody that wants to go down there. Temporary ended up being 6 years. And if a pole had to be climbed down there, it had my name on it, because I was on lineman down there for a long time. By the time, though, that I got burnt, well, they had a construction crew working down there, too.
And that's where you met your wife?
No, she was from Morganfield, same as I was. And I got to go in with her a little bit while I was in service, and then I got out and we went together, and we got married right after I went to Marion, 1950.
Kids?
Well, we adopted 2 kids.
Okay.
Wife couldn't have children, and we adopted 2 out of Lowell. Getting the name of that place up there. The insurance company wrote to the doctor and said, how long do you think he's going to live? They said, the kids if they're going to live the next day. So he said, I ain't got any control how long he's going to live. So I was 90 years old, so I lived for a little while, didn't I?
Yes, you have.
Closer to 91, really.
Did you ever go across, what would it be a turtleback? I think they call it a turtleback, where you went across the equator?
Oh, yeah, we crossed the equator 2 or 3 times, and we also crossed the international date line.
Yeah.
It could be Sunday, you cross the international date line, it'd be Sunday again, or it might be Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went through a lot of things, went through canal, like I said, and, where we were in a canal, the tide came in 14 feet, water raised 14 feet, and that's not the largest place. I don't know where it is that the tide's the tallest, but where we were at, the ship raised 14 feet when that tide come in. That's how much.
Good Lord.
That's pretty high.
That's like going through a dock.
Yeah.
So did you have to do that, what do they call that, some kind of little initiation that they put you through?
They didn't put us through that. We had all them guys that just had them, a bunch of them hurt, and they didn't know what they said instead of doing it, we just gave kind of something for them,
Yeah. So you didn't have to go through and kiss the fat man's belly.
They did a lot of that. And going through the canal was quite an experience. The canal's all fresh water.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And if you get in there out on the deck, when you're going through there, now on the Navy ship, of course, other ships probably did. But if you got out on the deck, you're going to get washed down because they wash all that salt water off, Boy, you talk about something rushing. Them ships are all metal, out there seeing that salt water. And Navy likes to keep them looking good. I told you about painting that guy's feet, didn't I?
No,
Did I tell you about that?
no. Go for it.
They like to keep them ships tidy looking,
Yeah.
And I was like, say, I had the 5-inch gun on it, and I had several guys help me. They called them strikers. So they was helping me paint the gun. We touched it up a little bit where it was rusty. Right behind the gun mount towards the fantail was an open hatch. It's an air hatch for the sleeping compartment and the escape hatch in case something needs to be, Well, we was painting that gun mount, and the hatch was open. I looked down, here's the guy asleep, his bare feet stuck out, laid his buck. I reached out, I painted the bottom of his feet, went on about my business. And then somebody said that he jumped on everybody up there. Never just say a word to me. And nobody knew I did it but me. I don't know if I met the guy face to face, I wouldn't know who I'd have any idea who he was. I just painted the bottom of his feet and went on about my business.
Oh, so you were a jokester.
Well, it does. I know I was on the #1 gun mount for a long time. That's right on the bow. And right in front of the gun was an open hatch. And when we was in port, they had a canvas they'd pull up over the hatch so that if it rained, it wouldn't rain down inside. Well, of course, we just had to lower the guns down. The gun barrels come down and it's right there at that hatch. And the canvas is closed. You have to push it open to come out. We lower them gun barrels down and somebody come out, bam, run right into it. Of course, we was innocent as hell. We were working on the guns. I got broke down a rank one time because the gun was leaking oil. I didn't even know it was leaking oil.
Yeah.
And I went on Liberty, had Liberty,
Yeah.
and one of the officers on the ship, I think was the captain or the captain's or the exec, somebody, kid was on the ship. He stepped in that oil and fell down.
Oh.
I didn't even know the thing was leaking oil. Because oil is just like water. If it can get out somewhere, it's going to get out.
Absolutely.
But anyway, I didn't want long I got back. I was second-class gunner's mate, then they went back to third, and they got back to second. Second's about like a staff officer in the Army, I think, or something like that.
I can't think of a worse place on a ship than the bow.
Oh, I tell you, I have to say that bow come completely out of the water. I was completely out. And then,
Well, you couldn't sleep like that, could you?
oh yeah, got used to it, didn't pay. And you could hear that water going by. A destroyer's skin ain't but about, you can shoot through it with 50 caliber machine guns.
Oh, yeah.
And you could hear that water going whoosh, whoosh, when he's laying there. But that put you to sleep.
What was your fondest memories in the Navy? What was the most thing that you enjoyed the most? The fondest memory you had?
I don't know, riding rough sea, I guess.
Yeah, you seem to like that.
I did. At a gun mount, right in the middle of the gun mount, I never noticed a picture of them, but they had a hatch. I could stand up on a platform and my head was outside.
Yeah.
But it had a blast shield behind me where guns behind me was shooting over and above me. And I used to climb out of that hatch and sit down on top of the deck at night or sunrise. Boy, at sea, sunrise is beautiful, or sunset, or moon.
You sleep on the deck sometimes?
No, I never slept on. I always slept in my bunk. But, now my buddy that I tell you about was on the LST. He said they used to sleep on the deck was so damn hot in that thing.
Yeah.
Of course, we didn't have any. Had some kind of a pipe. I don't know what it was, come down through the compartment there, and we could open the hole and it'd get some air.
Yeah. The LSC got hot.
Oh, I'm sure. You take all them ships, metal ships, it's bound to be hot. The sun shining on top of them. A lot of guys, a lot of time wouldn't wear anything, wouldn't shirts or nothing. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Too hot, burned you up.
Did you ever get any bullet holes from airplanes? The planes coming in, did they ever get close to you enough to hit?
Well, we had a lot of airplane empty cases on the deck they had to clean up, but I don't know if they ever hit any of it or not. They didn't hit my end anyway. But,
so you had empty rounds from airplanes?
And all the cases at 5/8 of the case, like I say, there was about 30 inches long, and of course, at the 40s and 20s, but we kept on them we could. They're supposed to keep them and so we could set them back in and get them reloaded. Oh, sometimes on the rough seas, we tie them down on the deck and they'd break loose and you can imagine a metal
Yeah.
case running up down that metal deck.
Yeah.
We'd have to get up, they'd get us up at night and go tie them down.
Down.
The 20s and 40s, we used to throw them at seagulls.
Seagulls wouldn't be, you have to be kind of close to shore because they only stay about, what, 5 or 10 miles from.
Oh, seagulls way out to sea.
Do they really?
And albatrosses, you know, an albatross,
Albatross, yeah.
they stick them on wings out and sail. You know, we had a radar called Charlie, and it wasn't, I don't think about it, it's real high up there, rotated all the time. Seagull light on that and would turn around where the wind was to his back, he'd get up and turn around the other way. I watched him, he'd do it an hour at a time. He sat there and rise, and when he get around, turn around.
Turn around.
And when he started getting in close to shore, that's where the seagulls sit and don't want to look up.
Yeah, you can't get you right in the face.
Yeah.
And they don't shoot just little tiny, it's a golf ball size.